LeBron James went on ESPN on Pat McAfee's show and ripped Stephen A., said that he was expecting Stephen A., as soon as his name got mentioned by LeBron, to be sitting in his tighty-whities eating ice cream gleefully on the couch. I'm paraphrasing LeBron there. And LeBron said that basically Stephen A. was on a Taylor Swift-like tour talking about the discussion that the two had courtside. Here's the reality. LeBron created this story. As much as you can accuse Stephen A. of sensationalizing stories, which on some level is his job, he is judged on ratings, and so he has to be as entertaining as possible, and the show has to be as entertaining as possible. LeBron could have had a private conversation with Stephen A. Easily, they could have agreed to talk somewhere where the entire arena wouldn't see them and where there wouldn't be video recordings of everything that was said between the two. LeBron made this a story. Now he's complaining about Stephen A. making it a story. It feels a bit to me like a wrestling work. In other words, where we're all getting played for purposes of ratings and entertainment. Certainly with Pat McAfee being at WWE, that aspect of the story can continue to get reinforced. But LeBron made this a story. First, LeBron made the Lakers draft his son, even though his son is not talented enough to have been one of the, 60 players that were drafted in last year's draft. The only reason that Bronny James got drafted is because his dad is LeBron. We've never seen that happen in the history of pro sports. There has never been a situation where a dad said, you better draft my son, and I want him playing on the team with me. That's never occurred. So it is a pretty extraordinary thing to happen. How do you not talk about it? You can argue, well, it's no big deal. Nepotism happens all the time. Okay, but sports is supposed to be the antithesis of nepotism. The best man or the best woman is supposed to get to be on the team. You can say, well, owners of teams hire their sons and daughters and put them, okay, but that isn't the expectation that they are the best for those jobs. And in fact, oftentimes those sons and daughters of owners get ripped to shreds for the fact that they got their jobs. But I don't think anybody out there is arguing that sports executives are the most talented business people in the world. Everybody who plays in the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL or the NFL is, in theory, the best at what they do, that collection. That's why you are playing in the pros. LeBron changed that by using his power to guarantee that his son got drafted, which would have otherwise never happened. How do you not talk about that if you are Stephen A. or if you're Clay Travis? You created an untenable situation for your family. You put Bronny in an uncomfortable situation. And then you can't get angry when people point out that you have created that situation. And if you are angry about it, there's all sorts of ways to have private conversations that don't occur on the court during a Lakers game where the whole world can see it happen. You, LeBron, created the drama. You, LeBron, created the public spectacle. Everybody's talking about it. Stephen A.'s job is to talk about the drama and public spectacle of sports, among other things, even when he himself becomes a character in the drama and spectacle of sports. So you can't then complain that LeBron talked about it when you are the reason that it's created. And then, again, the reason why I feel like it's a work is Stephen A. LeBron won't go on First Take, which is actually a much higher rated show. No offense to Pat McAfee, it just is, than the Pat McAfee show. Instead, he goes on Pat McAfee show, which I believe airs right after First Take. I'm not an expert in the television schedule because I'm on the air a lot too, and I don't typically watch sports programming when I'm on the air. I'm making sure we're not missing any major stories. And then he goes on the show right after Stephen A. to rip Stephen A. Frankly, I think it's cowardly of LeBron. So to the extent that I am on one side or the other in this situation, in this spectacle, in this conflict, in this feud, I'm going to be on Team Stephen A. Because I don't think Stephen A. Smith has done anything wrong. I haven't heard him be intensely personal of LeBron James. I haven't heard him in some way rip Bronny for not being talented enough to play in the NBA in some way. he said the honest truth, which is the only reason why LeBron's son is in the NBA is because LeBron demanded it. And I don't know how that's supposed to be controversial or unacceptable to say, and I don't know what LeBron's mad about. So that's my analysis there. Stephen A. Smith went after LeBron James. Stephen A. Smith started off his show, which is occurring, mind you, on the day of the Sweet 16 and also on the day Major League Baseball returns, with 17 minutes discussing LeBron James. And it seems quite clear to me now that Stephen A. and LeBron James don't like each other. And I actually think you have to come down on the side of Stephen A. on this dispute. And let me explain why. LeBron sought this dispute out. I'm a dad. I've got 3 boys. I am a pinprick as famous as LeBron James. If I found someone in a public setting where everybody is recording and I confronted them in a public venue to try to create a story, which is what I think LeBron did, then you can't then complain when other people tell their side of the story. Let me just kind of give you a little bit of a real world discussion. There are all sorts of things that are talked about privately that are not for public discourse. That is, tons of things out there that many of you would not know have happened because they were off the record. Media outlet and a individual who's running for office, media outlet, prominent athlete, media outlet, and prominent owner. Lots of discussions that never go public. If LeBron truly had an issue with Stephen A. and what Stephen A. has said, he could easily request a private meeting. They could meet in a room off the locker room for 10 minutes, hash it out face to face. Nobody would ever know it happened. Instead, LeBron confronted Stephen A. Smith on the court. I've never heard Stephen A. Smith say anything other than LeBron James's son didn't earn his way into the NBA, which is true. LeBron James, in fact, bullied the Lakers and other parts of the NBA to ensure that his son ended up on the Lakers. We've never seen anything like this happen in the history of sports where a dad says, hey, my kid has got to be on this team. Now, it happens in like Little League, right? Dads or moms on a regular basis might demand that their kid be on a team, that their kid be an all-star, that their kid play more than they otherwise would if it weren't for the dad or the mom. A lot of people have issues with that. If you've raised kids or you've coached, you may have had to deal with parents who don't really seem to have an ability to logically analyze their own child's ability. And so they behave irrationally in terms of the demands that they place on coaches, maybe the demands that they even place on their own kids. All of this can happen, but we've never seen a pro athlete demand that his son be drafted when the son had no otherwise ability that would suggest that he should be drafted. So Stephen A. addressing that is the very foundation of what his job is. He didn't say LeBron was a bad dad. He didn't say LeBron was a bad husband. He didn't say that LeBron was in some way anything other than a violating the meritocracy of sport by putting his own son in above him. And then LeBron goes on Pat McAfee's show and takes shots at Stephen A. And Stephen A. is not supposed to respond. Now, again, it's possible this is all a work, right? I don't think so, because I think LeBron is too sensitive to be a part of any story that doesn't allow him to be the star, the paragon of virtue. I don't think he can handle it. So I don't think it's a work for that reason. Meaning, when I say work, I don't think this is like a heavyweight title buildup or a wrestling fake ness designed to draw more attention. I think LeBron can't handle a scintilla of criticism. And I think whenever he is criticized, he lashes out at the criticism. And as Stephen A. Smith pointed out, basically all he said is, you're the second best NBA player of all time. And if that is the standard that you find unacceptable, what is going on with your overall persona that you would be in a position where you can't handle that even at the age of 40 after 20 years in the NBA. So I'm Team Stephen A on this. I think it's actually unfortunate that on the day of the sweets, this is like a summer beef story to me when there's no other stories going on. Like when there's actually Sweet 16 games and when there are lots of storylines to follow there, and when there are lots of storylines to follow with Major League Baseball, this to me is like a July story before NFL training camps get started. Trust me, I had to do 3 hours a day. Heck, I did 3 hours a day with no sports back when COVID happened. But sometimes you get into that June, July window where you haven't yet gotten to NFL training camps, and you don't have NFL preseason to talk about. You don't have college football looming to talk about. And everybody's just kind of in the dog days of the summer. That's kind of when this LeBron versus Stephen A feud would make the most sense. But I'm actually team Stephen A to the extent you have to pick a side here.